to host this session for you today. Joining for this workshop to answer all your queries on how to handle lying and stealing in children, I have with me our child behavioral psychologist, Kiran Tevtiya. A very warm welcome to you, and we are so happy to have you.
Thank you, Nidhi. It's lovely being here. Thank you.
Yes.
I look
So,
forward to today's workshop.
absolutely, same here. So, talking about today's topic, could you tell us why is it important for parents to understand about these behaviors like lying and stealing in their child, and why is it important?
Okay. See, anytime we have to understand, right? Anytime a child is manipulating, right, or is telling you something which does not exist in real life, okay? And especially if you're talking about younger children, like 4 years, 5 years old children, firstly we should as a parent feel happy the first time the child is trying to do it. Why I say that is because it shows a certain level of intelligence in the child, that the child is able to create something which does not exist, right? So if it's a younger children, instead of like kind of feeling enraged that, oh my god, this is the first time my child has, oh, the child has learned lying as well and all those things, feel a little happy that wow, the child is showing certain level of intelligence of manipulation. That means an intelligence. Having said that, if it is something which becomes like regular in nature, then maybe somewhere it is also a point of introspection, that is it that some kind of the child is in some kind of fear to tell you the truth, or the child is doing some posturing to be in your good books, or the child is not comfortable, or you know um, there are brackets here, right? The child is really driven to get away with fibbing or with manipulating or lying. So we have to see a trend here. If we notice that there's a trend here, then it's a good introspective point for the parents to see if some kind of anxieties or some kind of fears in the child can be handled, so that the child is more open, more honest, and even if the child is telling you the real truth, is not in any kind of fear. But having said that, every child is going to tell a lie or at least manipulate at some or the other point of life. So it's a very natural process as well. So it's kind of a balance, right? So that's how, Nidhi, I would put it as.
Thank you so much. So, Kiran, also could you help us understand that what are the reasons and the factors behind children lying and stealing?
Okay, so here lying is a different thing and stealing is a different thing, right? Now, the different reasons, if we have to think about it. One, suppose a 6-year-old child, we have said, have you brushed your teeth? Okay, the routine, regular work. And the child says, yes. And the beauty about younger children telling a lie is it's so on the face. So all you have to do is, if you go to the washroom and you check the brush, you will notice that the child hasn't really brushed the teeth, right? So one reason is because the younger children love living in the moment. So whatever is catching the attention of the child at that moment, the child doesn't really want to, transition into what you had expected the child to do. So one is because the child is so much engrossed in the moment that it becomes easier for the child in the short term to get away with it. So it's not like child has really given it a big thought and all, right? That's one reason. Second reason is, suppose the child went out and first was where the child didn't really get time to think. It was just an impromptu yes. Did you do it? Yes. Right? I'm talking about those. Second type of line could be where the child has got some time to build upon it. This generally happens for a little older children, right? Like 7, 8 years plus. So where suppose the child had a fight with a friend and the child knows, I got to, go home and I have to tell. Or if the child did something at home and the parents are going to come, child knows they're going to find. So then the child got some time to create something, right? That's second kind of lie, where the child actually got time and fabricated. did the different decision permutation combination, thought, wow, this looks like a presentable story to my parents, right? So that's a second kind of thing where again we have to understand it is driven by fear. The fear could be of the consequences, in fact, for especially in today's time, the fear could be that will my permissions, will my privileges be taken away, will I be grounded because of that, right? Will it hurt my parent? There's another set of kids who lie because, especially a little older one, right, 10 11 plus, where the maturity sets in a bit, empathy does come in. So sometimes they lie, and the reason that they give me is, it would have hurt my mother, it would have hurt my father if I were to tell them. Lying, sometimes we think, is just about saying something. Lying can also be about hiding something, right? Of not telling the real thing. So I do see in a little older children, the reason that they tell to themselves is that pseudo parenting, where they try to protect their parent from what they think is a hurt, right? So that's a different kind of lying as well, where you're trying to protect someone. In fact, a lot of some of these fabrication can also be propagated culturally or in some of our moral story. There's a little thin line between what is a lie and what is, holding on to the real truth, right? So it could be a little family to family as well, differing from there. Stealing is one thing which I would say should be seen in a different light, Nidhi, because like for example, one thing is where the child went into the fridge, took something, went into, had a little extra junk, or maybe the child was playing some online game, and especially older child, right, and then did the Google Pay and got something, paid something. That's a virtual thing, but that also comes in stealing, right? The child found the wallet of the parent around, took something out, went to, so we have to see, like, is it one off or is it becoming a trend? So that's stealing. There's another kind of stealing where the child went to a neighbor's place, friend's place, liked something out there. Some of the decisions that the child takes could be in the spur of the moment. So, like, the child just took it and pocketed it and came home. Or in the school where the child took something, pocketed, and came home. So that's another kind of stealing, right? So stealing um, and lying should be seen a little differently. The motivations for both the things could be way different. So that's how I would say these are the different reasons that I would say for stealing. If you have to think for a reason, the reason either could be the instant gratification, right? That, okay, I'm getting a craving. If I go and take permission from my parent, I know I'm not going to get it, so let me just go and take it from there. Second could be some impulsive decision that, okay, I see my friends, it's in peer pressure as well, especially in online video games. I see a lot of children, a little middle childhood children, succumbing to that peer pressure that my friends have this diamond, I need to buy these coins and all. So that's another kind of stealing where the child just takes it out, either takes the cash, goes to the shopkeeper, and gets those points to continue playing in the video game. So there can be a lot of motivation, entertainment motivation, peer pressure, right? And some instant impulse, especially for younger children, where the child just took it. And we got to understand, every time the child lied or stole, by the way, the child is aware about it. The child is already, whether the child is showing in the face or not showing in the face, right, knows that the child did it. So the reaction of the adults could often decide how often the child is going to continue, unless it is clinical diagnosed. So otherwise, in most of the cases, it's a expression of the adult, which can often decide how long would it continue, right? So that's how I would say are different motivations for stealing and lying. Nidhi.
Thank you so much. Also, like you mentioned, that a lot of time kids might just refrain from telling what exactly it is instead of lying. So, do you think that also in is itself a form or a type of lying? And apart from that, could you shed some light on different types of lying as well?
Right. So yeah. So sometimes we say that you know. A little moral thing also, ethical thing also comes out here. For example, If I'm at home and somebody's calling me and I tell that person, right, that I'm just going to reach, I'm on my way, and my child is listening, um, do we put it underlying? The child, especially the child who is 10 years younger, I know, younger than 10 years of age, sees it and, says that it's all right, right? Or sometimes if the child is studying and you want to say no to the friends who are probably planning some party or something, and either you tell the child or maybe as a parent you tell yourself to others that you know what, we are going out of station on that day, and the child notices. So it's little hazy, Nidhi, I would say. Uh, uh, it's difficult to just kind of see it in a black and white kind of thing, that this is wrong, lying is wrong, and not lying is right. Firstly, even the very definition of lying, especially from children's perspective and even from adults' perspective, is quite different. I think generally a big part of lying also comes from the fact that we find it very difficult to say a no in general, right? So if somebody comes for some to take some favor from me, I may, instead of telling the right thing, may want to fudge up or make up, so that I strongly feel that, okay, this part of the story will be bought more by the other person. That's lying if you look from a technical point of view. I mean, creating something which doesn't exist. Some people can say that's creative reasoning, but anyways, so these are different kind of ways which within the family also, some kind of uh, uh, masking masking of the truth, where somewhere a fear, at the end of the day, uh, it's a fear which drives us in general to posture, to do certain posturing. Okay, either it could, and for children it can also be a little part of the greed, which is instant in nature, instant gratification, that let me just get it and I'll be happier then. So these are different kind of um, uh, uh, lying, I would say, where for to get away with something, when the child is finding it difficult to say no and the child learns it from an adult, I often advise the parents that you got to feel comfortable to say no to your child, and it can start right from such small thing as, suppose the parents are talking to each other, having a discussion, and the child comes right and sits right in front, in between, and says, give me attention. And if the parents say, wait, we are having a talk, no, you can't disturb right now, right? So it's an ability to say a no, which children can flow intergenerational as well. So lying can happen when difficult to say no, where the child wants to get away with something out of fear, out of instant thing that the child wants, fear of nagging as well from the parents, let me get away with it. So it's something where the child is looking at short term, and accordingly our reaction should be a little measured and not so high, because the child really did not think long term point of view. If it is very high level of manipulation, we have to think much deeper what is driving the child. But these are like, generic ways in which the child ends up lying. Yeah, Nidhi, I hope it helps.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you so much. So, Latha, who has a 5-year-old child, asks, my 5-year-old son is telling me lies of late to escape from my scoldings and beatings. Whenever I ask him about his mistake, he immediately covers it up with a lie. How do I change his character about this?
Right. I think, Lata, first thing is that if you can uh, remove the image, right, or the expectations that you have from the child, that he should always speak the truth. Okay. And if you truly believe that, even to get away from what instruction you had given, the child is telling a lie, so the child has right to do that to get away from something. If you can truly believe that, then your reaction would be much major, it will help the child. For example, if suppose you said, have you brushed your teeth, right, and the child says that, yes, I have. So if you can, if sometimes if you can go and say, all right, let's do a breath check, and if the child is still smelling, so you can, instead of saying, oh, you are telling a lie, how you are telling a lie, how you started telling a lie also, and go in, different tangent. If you can still have a measured, because you have no image of your child, you are not expecting your child to match certain image that you have, that my child should always tell the truth. Okay, so if you do not have anything to match with, you chances are higher that you'll accept it, and then say, you know what, I hear that you say that you have brushed your teeth. However, I'm not convinced about the quality of brushing that you're done. So I can help you to brush you now. Let's go to the bathroom and brush your teeth. So chances are high that when you keep it like that, the child can actually will be more participative to go with you. First thing. Second thing, if you can actually smile at the time when the child says, yeah, I did it, right? You say, okay, really? Come, let's go and check. So it is also a good idea when you don't put the pressure of your expectation of the child, and chances are high that when you're smiling, you hold on to your, sometimes the moment the child has instantly said a yes, he may find it difficult to convert it into a no, right? Because it's so tough, right? Once you're said something, it's difficult to undo it. So then if you just wait and smile and go closer to the child, chances are very high, because you make it easy for the child to convert from yes to no. So the chances are high the child may actually smile back and said, oh, actually, you know what, I didn't really do. And if it's a little older child, he may say, actually, I did not do it properly, right? Either ways, let the child, as I say, get away with that instant yes that the child did. Or if suppose something was broken in the kitchen, okay, and you say, oh, who broke it, and you know very clearly it's the child who broke it, right? So if the child says, no, I didn't, so if you say, all right, I see that you say you have not, but you know what, this can, then if you talk about the impact of it, right? So if you say that, you know what, this thing is lying all on the floor, I would need your help to clear it up. So if so, you let the child get away with a statement. You didn't really take it so literally, but you help the child to handle the impact of his action, right? So if you guide the child, see, oftentimes, Lata, we get stuck on why. Why did you tell me a lie? We all know that he's a small child, younger child. The instant, the strong desire to get out of the situation instantly is high. The ability to see long term isn't developed yet. It's a biological process. So if we just kind of keep focusing on why, it's not going to help the child, and it's not going to help you as well. Because please understand that anytime you ask a question of why to a child, you expect a reply, right? And the child is not in a state where he can actually verbalize so much. A 5-year-old child who can verbalize that, why did I do it, right? And sometimes it is possible, Latha, that we give words to children. When you say why, you ask a question and then you start answering it yourself. Oh, so you really wanted to get away with it, but you know what, this is so wrong to tell a lie. And we sometimes add a lot of fear also to that. This will happen, that will happen if you tell a lie. So I would say, let the child get away with the lie part, that verbal thing that the child said, and focus more on the impact of the child's action. You assume, if you know for sure, you assume. All right, that's really going to help your child a lot. Another last thing, I'm generally saying, the common scenarios in which a 5-year-old child can get into. One is quickly saying yes for your question. Second is, doing breaking or something which is missing, or something which, suppose a biscuit packet is finished, the child says, no, I did not have it, right? So the thing where the child does not own up, right? So the natural consequence probably could be that, I understand, but you know what, the packet is finished, and now we had the quota of finishing that packet in 1 week's time, so that now the next packet will be bought after 1 week's of time. So the natural consequence, if you stick to that without the why part. Third thing is social situation, where one child hit the another child, and then you go and say, who, what's going on, who hit whom, right? You're trying to help the child in the social conflict situation. There I would say, again, a lot of time children, one child says, he called me this, or he hit me first, and the other child says, no, he hit me first, right? That's another situation where it finds very difficult to figure it out, who is telling the truth, who is telling the lie, right? So this last situation, Lata, if it's happening for your child, I would suggest that, firstly, body language of the adult. If the child somehow gets a messaging that my parent is here to act like a judge, to decide who is right, who is wrong, who should say sorry first, who should say sorry next, the child is going to sense your anxiety and then is going to react accordingly. So if you're calm and if you say my job is to facilitate the discussions, exchange of thoughts between the two children who are both young and they are right now very heat in the moment, it's difficult for them to verbalize all their thoughts. So if that is your attitude, chances are high that one child says something, then you say, all right, so what are your thoughts about it? And he says something in whatever language, right? Or what are your thoughts? Okay, so how do we go about it? If you wanted the jula, right? And he says he did not give me the jula in 5 minutes, he kicked me for that. Okay, oh, kicking can be very tough. Is there some other way we can solve it? Chances are very high that you are helping the children to build a way to solve social conflict. You're giving them the tools. And chances are high that even though both of them started with a different type of story, I have personally seen that both of them finally converge into single story. If only they do not have to handle the emotional baggage of the parent. So if you are calm in that situation, chances are very high the child will find it easier to speak the truth. So I really hope, Lata, for your child, giving these examples of these three situations can really help you. Thank you.
Hope Lata this answers your question, and if you have any further questions, please feel free to write them in and we shall take them. We are joined by our parenting expert, child behavioral specialist Kiran Tevtiya to talk about is your child lying and stealing. Learn how to handle in this parenting workshop. Kiran, Rekha, who has a 3-year-old child, says, my daughter is 3 years old. I keep telling her moral stories. How can I teach her to not lie and steal in other ways? What is the correct way for this age? Please help me.
Right. Yeah. So, Rekha, wonderful. Um, uh, Story reading is amazing thing with children, young children, and in fact, this is a very nice age. Uh, right from the birth to 6 years, 7 years, when the child is told the stories, it also build book reading skills in the children. Right. So that's really wonderful. Now, there's a little tricky thing, Rekha, which I find in moral stories, a lot of moral stories, whether it is Bubbles, whether it is Pepper, or, some of the stories, moral stories. The bottom line generally in the moral stories is, right, more towards if you do this, you will get pain, right? So if you eat too much of junk food, you will get tummy ache, right? Um, uh, so essentially, or if you don't brush your teeth, you will have to get injection from the doctor, right? Um, that's one way, of course. That's kind of a fear-driven way to educate the child. Uh, I would say if you can go beyond that, right? And if somehow we instill into the children that it's nice, right? Doing nice things or telling the truth, it's brave to tell the truth. And of course, another thing with young children, Rekha, is that the modeling of the parents, because young children are not so good at learning by auditory. When you are telling the story to your child, you are banking upon the auditory skills of your child, right? The child will listen and will understand and will act accordingly, right? However, young children, preschoolers, learn more by the visual part of it, right? So that is the reason why their videos and even their books and all are full of diagrams, right, with cartoons and bigger pictures and smaller, less text part of it. So they see and they see what is happening. That means they learn more from watching what others are doing. So when it's a turn for you, whether when you're interacting with somebody outside, whether you're interacting with the inside, if family members can watch that, because it really takes a lot of I would say being brave to actually own up when we do something, right? So if you can watch yourself how you are how you are. For example, if you commit to the child that, okay, today evening I will do it, right? I don't have time right now. And if you can get back to the child, whether you do or whether you don't do, but if you get back to the child, it connects with the child that yes, my mom follows it up. If you are telling somebody and the child knows the story already, but you're telling in a little different manner, child notices it, right? Whatever has happened. So if you can just watch yourself, that's the best moral story, I would say. Secondly, if you can kind of tweak the moral stories a bit, where they are more like, when you eat healthy food, instead of saying don't eat junk food, don't eat junk food, it could be more about when you eat healthy food, wow, look at your muscles. If the child did something really strong that day, or did something is jumping really high that day, wow, you're jumping so high, I wonder how it's happening. Oh, you had spinach yesterday, I can see you have a lot of iron today, right? So if we can kind of build positivity towards doing things, is going to last in the child for much longer. Yeah, if we create fear out of it, so um, fear of injection by the doctor and all, so sometimes actually those fear take the child in a very different manner, right? I would say moral stories, please choose, be a little more choosy about the moral stories, choose the stories which are more positive in nature. Or it can be like arranging the things. Sometimes some of the moral stories has the child did not arrange the things, then the child slipped and fell down, got hurt, and the moral was please arrange your things, right? If the child is arranging the things, if you can kind of build positivity, which is about, wow, look how nicely all your balls are in the same basket, wow, look, all your cars are at the same place in the same box, so lovely, big hug to you. So that ways you are building morals in your child through positive reinforcement. So I really hope positive reinforcement always works much better than fear. Much the effect is much more long lasting, and unfortunately some of our moral stories don't propagate that. So please do take it as a little balance out there, and please continue reading stories to your child. That's a wonderful gift that you're giving to your child.
Thank you so much for this answer. Urvashi, who has a 9-year-old child, says, my son is 9 years old. Of late, he has got into the habit of lying to us. He keeps other tabs open on his laptop and does not attend online classes. I got to know this during his parents teacher meeting from the teachers that he has not been submitting his assignments as well. I was shocked to know that, and when I asked him the reason for doing so, he said that the classes are boring. How do I make him understand the importance of attending classes as well as teach him to not tell lies? Kindly give your valuable inputs.
Right. Urvashi, there are many elements in this question, right? Like 9-year old, I'm assuming probably your child is like third grade. I mean, anywhere between third grade, fourth grade kind of thing. Um, and it's online education, right, for primary section. And the child is doing the online education in a device which the child connects with entertainment as well. Okay, so it's like uh, you know, uh, it's like having the child sit in the classroom where there are vendors moving all over around. Somebody is showing those videos, somebody is showing playing some games, somebody is doing some juggling, and expecting the child to keep looking at the board, right? It's tough. It's difficult. Genuinely, it is difficult, right? For a child to leave it only to the self control of the child, that you know what, this is a test of your self control, you must show self control. It's tough on younger children. Hmm? Having said that, so we have to understand the genuine inherent challenges of online education for a primary section. Okay, so that is one thing. Second thing is that what has happened is happened, right? When you, the moment you get a feedback from the teachers that um, he has not submitted an assignment. Now, the beauty about children is when something has happened, if you take that as the ground to give some to do's for the coming 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and do not take that something which has happened as the final full stop, right? You did not submit the assignment. It's a full stop, right? It's a full stop kind of state. I would say, Urvashi, if generally, right, because here we are not thinking from short term point of view, we are thinking from a long term point of view. In long term, we really want to propagate to the child that no matter what happens in life, no matter how tough, whether good decision or bad decision, child will not always take good decisions in his life, right? Child is bound to take bad decisions, wrong decisions, what look like good decisions at the beginning, right? What look like that, wow, I'm just having entertainment, just this one assignment I will submit, but the next assignment I will do it, right? Child is taking decisions at the time. In older age, when the child will be older as well, the child will take decision, and there will be decision which will have very tough repercussions. So what we are really want the child to understand is that, all right, this is the result of your decision, and now this is how, you know, we make it up for it. So if you can leave a hope, right, in the child for future, that's going to really help him. So fine, you got a feedback that, all right, the assignments were not done. Second feedback that you got, that, all right, the child was actually tabbing out and was going on that. So if you can think that, how do you help the child in terms of, okay, so for the last 1 month, these are the assignments which are, please make a list of all the assignments which have not been submitted. It's because you really want the child to own up the consequences for it, right? So how many are there total? Okay, 20 assignments. So how many can we do per day? All right, we can do 2 or 3. It may not be just about submitting to the teacher. It can also be about the child just doing it, because that's a consequence of not doing it in the past. So you are leaving the child with the hope that, yes, I can still salvage myself. So this is an amazing message for a child, where the chance that where he owns up, right, for his deeds. This is going to help him in future as well, where he doesn't see life as a full stop, but as, all right, let me do something about it. So if you can do that. Secondly, if you can actually the again, all these things, Urvashi, are going to work better if you first handle your shock, right? Because if you are in shock, then it's going to reflect in the tone. You are first understanding yourself that why are you in a shock, okay? Are you in a shock because you were expecting a certain behavior from your child and it did not match with that certain behavior? All right. So you're like, okay, how could my child do this? So if you can kind of help yourself to first digest it and make peace with it, and tell yourself that, all right, it's what next that is going to help the child, instead of what happened in the past, right? We can't do anything about the past now, so let me see what can be done next. Okay, so if you can take that thing, then the tone, and if you can sit with the child, you know what, dear, so we got to, now all the assignments have been done, so if you can make out some action plan out of it, and you can work out some consequences for it, that, you know what, dear, so till the time we don't finish, till once we finish the assignment, then we go into our entertainment, screen based entertainment. So you can actually have a point where the entertainment of the child is conditional based on achievement of those, whatever, 2 assignment per day, or 3 assignment per day, or 4 assignment per day. But keep the focus on the child, not on you. So if once you're given the printout or the download or whatever is the mode to the child, let it be in the child's kitty. Don't just think that I have to sit with the child and do it, because again, then the ownership, self drive would go missing here, right? So if you can work at that. And the second thing which is really important in today's time is parental control in the devices. So if you can work out some way in which other websites can be stopped, right, access can be stopped, and you work out a rule for the child that, you know what, when we're in the school, we stay in the school. The way if you take comic in the school or mobile in the school, they get confiscated, right? So if I see you in the YouTube or something during the school hours, then that particular class will be closed for you, and you do self study and show me the assignment for that day. So if you can kind of bring that, so maybe 3 4 times you may have to close. Whenever you watch it, you may have to close it, and after that, the child, chances are very high that the child will own it up. All right, till the time my school is going on, I should only be in the school. And also, Urvashi, what can help your child is between the classes. Sometimes there are 15 20 minutes break. So I see children kind of to and froing, right? So it's passive class, active entertainment, passive class. So if I can, guide, if you can guide the child that between the two classes, do not have screen-based entertainment. So it becomes easier for the child to continue with the classroom, take a break, go around in the house, maybe do your assignment, then do the second class. So if you can kind of put a rule where between two classes also there is no entertainment, it will be easier for your child to continue with the classroom without the distraction. Then the child starts seeing it as a block. This is the school block, right? Entertainment block is this, right? Outdoor block is this. So if you can kind of help your child to have a block, guide the child through that, I hope this is going to help. But again, shock, handle the shock, and then help your child. I hope, Urvashi, this helps you.
Yes, Urvashi, I hope this answers your question. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to write them in and we shall take them. We are joined by a parenting expert, child behavioral specialist, Kiran Tevtiya, to talk about is your child lying and stealing? Learn how to handle in this parenting workshop. Also, Kiran, do you think that frequent lying and stealing is a cause of an underlying issue?
It can be if you see that without any reason the child is doing it, even though there was no fear, the child was safe, connected, and suddenly the child has started doing it, then it should parents should see, how it is overall impacting. For example, even a child as young as 4 years old uh, landed upon some adult content, and the moment the parent came, would just hide the phone behind. Now, nobody told the child that the child is not supposed to watch it, right? But somewhere, maybe when you're watching something on the TV or somewhere, the child get an indication that this kind of um, this kind of videos I'm not supposed to see. Then the biggest problem which happens with the child is, how do I tell my parents, right? I know that I'm a bad girl or I'm a bad boy, I did that. So then it becomes a double pressure. One is that the child ended up doing it, so the child is already feeling guilty about it. And the child truly thinks that there's a curiosity there, I can't stop myself from there, right? And the child can't even tell the parents because there's a fear there that, okay, I'm already a bad boy or a bad girl. I'm seeing dirty things. That's what generally a 4.5 year old child shared with me, right? So I'm seeing a dirty thing. So how do I tell my parent, right? And an 11-year-old child says that they will take my device away. So if you can, even if you're very angry, try to hold on to your, at that time, giving any kind of consequences, think through it, right? And if you notice that there is a trend, you may have to see how did it start, how long it has been. Sometimes, Nidhi, I've also seen that when the child goes out, suppose the child has been exposed to another older child, doing something to the child, like these days, especially where I get cases where, again, a natural curiosity as well as driven by videos and all. One child undressing another child while playing doctor, doctor, and then, of course, exploring it and then doing it hidden behind the bed and all. Then it's like, and the child came home and is like, no, 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 I should not be telling my parents and all. So if you notice that there is something uneasiness in the behavior, if it's for no reason the child is doing it in a regular basis, you may have to observe your child more, connect more with the child. Maybe it could be maybe the environment could have been too strict for the child. Maybe there is something else going around where the child is dealing with that anxiety. Should I or should I not tell my parents? There could be something. So even an open hearted talk, what's going on, is some friend troubling you, is there something that you're not comfortable? Asking in a leading manner is also a great thing. But yes, it can be a cause of it should be a cause of concern if you see a pattern and repeatedly, for aspects and for things which are not easy to figure out. So yeah, we should work on that, yeah, and help the child.
Yes, thank you so much. Anmesha, who has a 10.5-year-old child, says, what is the right way to handle a child who cooks up stories instantly to escape any situation which can go against her? My daughter, who is now 10.5 years old, does not do work as allocated to her and would come up with some story which would sound so real that one would want to believe it. I'm losing faith in her. Even if she tells the truth, it becomes difficult for me to trust her. I'm having serious trust issues with her. Please guide me how to go about with dealing with her.
Right. um Okay, so Anisha, now 10-year-old child, it's a little generic question for me, I would say. Now, I would just, because I don't have a specific situations where the child is telling, is creating stories, right? Um, However, if I have to generally say, it could be a social setup, it could be academics, it could be self care or household chores, right? Pretty much these kind of areas for a 10-year-old child. So, or it could be even that my mom, like one 10-year-old child went and shared with another child that, my mom scolded me, or my mom will hit me if I lose it. And even though if the mom is overhearing, the mom may say, I never hit my child. So, creating those. So for a 10-year-old child, sometimes a social pressure also to play a certain posturing and get a certain emotion from the other person, that can also be a drive. So first, I would say, when you notice that your child has started creating a story, right? When you asked a question, most of the time children say a story when there is a question about why. So whenever the focus is on why, the children kind of, wow, this is my chance to tell my mom the most plausible words, which I think my mom will buy in. Okay, why did you hit her? Why did you bite? Why did you push? Right? Why did you not finish your homework? So that's why we have all those jokes also, that in today's online education, a child can't say, my dog ate my homework, right? It's all right there on the screen. So this, wise allow a child to run their imaginations wide. So I would say, if you have the bandwidth of time, listen to your child, with the calmest face that you can, right? With a little amusement on your face, and listen completely to the child, whatever the why the child has said. Okay. And then focus on the problem in hand. Let not the why affect the topic that you had started with. Sometimes the why lead completely different. I was feeling so angry, so I didn't do it. All right, so you thought it was not an important work to do, but you know what, it's an important work to do. Now how do we go about it? So this how, from why, how do you convert, Anisha, into how for your child, is what will help your child. So ask whys for the entertainment value of it, and then focus more on how part of it that can help your child more to and do not negate. I always say, for a little middle-aged child, do not negate that. No, you are telling a lie. No, I don't believe you. Sometimes, in fact, Anisha, I've noticed that, suppose you might have already heard the story from somebody else, right? You might have heard it from the neighbor, you might have heard it from the teacher, you might have heard it from a friend, right? And the child comes to you, and sometimes you ask, what, tell me what happened in the school today, right? I would always say, if you really want the child to be truthful to you, the foundation of it starts from the parent. Tell the child in the most honest and transparent manner, without adding on to your emotional thing or your thinking. Tell that, what, that friend was telling that in the garden you used a cuss word against her, and she didn't like it. She came and she told me about it. What are your thoughts about it? Right. So if you ask such open-ended thing, you open your cards first. What do you already know about it? I went to the kitchen and I noticed that you were supposed to finish the whatever it is, vegetable. It was lying in the dustbin. Now the food is wasted. Whatever is the value system of the house. Now, what are your thoughts about it? Open your cards first. Chances are higher that a 10-year-old child would find it easier to open up when the child sees your tone, sees your body language, sees that yes, you are asking the child to open up. Then chances are higher that actually the child can speak, can brave up to speak the truth part of it. Yeah. But never negate, never question it, that never double check it also. I would say, even if you double check it, please don't do it in front of the child. It affects your connection with the child, and the chances increase, where what you project by that is, you tell the child that I don't trust you. Okay, so I'm going to double check here. You want to double check it at the back of the child, not in the front of the child. But do not come back to the child that, what, I double checked and this was completely wrong that you said. Again, focus on the how part, that, dear, what, she was saying that it bit really hard. Now I think we owe an apology to that girl. Please see, how do you go about it? Set your expectations there, in terms of how, in terms of hope, in terms of future actions, right? So when you negate, see, with children, Anisha, trust is something you have to keep doing on the child till the time the child has not achieved it. Trust is not conditional, that okay, I will trust you only if if you are truthful to me, else I will not trust you. No, you got to show that I trust you no matter what. Okay, so you are buying all the stories about, oh, then in fact, if sometimes you find the story completely outlandish, okay, you can actually build upon it. So what you're saying is that she ran away and then you ran so fast that you flew over it, and you will notice that the child will have smile on her face, you will have smile on your face, and you guys will, and then you come back to the topic. So dear, what we were talking is this, right? So you can actually build upon the story and you guys will have amazing connect time. Please remember, Anisha, every time you have a conflict with your child, there is a price to pay, and the price to pay is your disconnect with the child. And more disconnected you are with the child, less your child trusts, right, with her or his, whatever they wanted to share with you, right? So I really hope, Anisha, this helps with your child.
Thank you so much, Kiran. Mala Kapoor says, Ma'am, would it be right to punish a child if he's caught stealing for the first time, or should we ignore it? My son stole a small amount from his father's purse 2 days back. Though the amount is small, but I believe that he should be punished for the same. I haven't reacted as of now, as I'm in two minds. Please tell me what should we do, and what is it that should be done from my end to have so that this is not repeated again. Also, I want to thank you for all your valuable suggestions. I make sure that I don't miss your workshops. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mala. Such kind words, and it's such a pleasure and such an honor. Thank you so much. Did we get the age of the child here, Nidhi? All right. So now it opens up a big one, because I got a case where the child was like about 5.5 year old who had stolen from the mother's purse, and I got a child who was like about 14 who stole it from the home. Now the amount was of course different, 50 rupees and 9,000 rupees. So the child can be anywhere between these two, or even here and there. Here, any kind of corporal punishment, right? Hitting, sarcastic, name calling, labeling, don't wouldn't really help the child, right? So if the child is caught stealing, and any kind of, if you try to put that how bad it is morally and all, right, how it makes him the worst person in the family and all, probably isn't the right time, right? You got to trust that those moral values in any case are in progress. You talk to the child on a daily basis. When you are in the heat of the moment, is not the time to kind of think of giving a lot of gyan, as I say, to the child, right? Now, but then ignoring is never, we should never ignore whatever the child does. So, for instance, even if it's a small thing like getting a pencil from the school and you notice that it doesn't belong to the child, I would say do not ignore it. Just tell the child that, oh, this pencil. So, where do we get this from? It doesn't belong to us. If the child says, I found it on the floor or something, then see whatever are the rules of the house, right? Sometimes it's a coin, it's a marble. The rule can be different for different things, right? Kids often find those amazing marbles from the floor. So you have to see what do you label as allowed in the house and what you label as not allowed in the house, right? It could be even as expensive gifts from another friend. So what do you allow, what you don't allow? It's all your idea. Now, if the child has taken some amount, I would suggest firstly natural consequences. Okay, like dear, this, and it all depends. Has the child already spent? Did the child return it back? A lot of permutation combination are there. So I'm assuming that the child might have already spent or something. So you may also have to kind of think about it, that this was not right, it was very wrong. So now, if the amount is already spent, then you can put a natural consequence that you got to, return it from your pocket money to your father. And please, you're not allowed to touch the wallet. So that's about it. If you keep it like that, but don't ignore it. Ignoring never helps. Do not, when we ignore something, we tell the child that this is too, either we tell the child that it's too big a thing to talk about, we are not comfortable talk about it to you, right? Or secondly, a child notices that you're ignoring it, right? So even if the child was doing something here, I'm not talking about stealing, but in general, if the child was doing something to get your attention, the child can increase that behavior to get your attention. If we choose ignore as a strategy, as a parent, ignoring should never be a strategy. Even if the child use, even if you don't want to act upon it, suppose a child rolled eyes or spoke in a loud tone, even then sensitize the child that, dear, that's a very loud tone. Okay, so what we're talking about is, so you continue with talking about what you were saying, but do comment, right, on what you observed. So here again, if you can keep it a little balanced, depending upon the amount, depending on where the child spent it, depending upon what are the peer influences. If the child is a little older, is meeting in the canteen to his friends every day, that's another scenario which I get, Nidhi, right? The friends are always spending money and the child feels pressurized that I need to spend money as well. So if the child is a little older, if you can talk about these things with the child, more from the pressure, how the peers can influence, because most of the habits, Mala, are picked up, especially in adolescent, through peer pressure, right? So if you kind of sensitize a child, and that's why it is also important for younger children, where we do not motivate the children by comparing them with others. We don't motivate the children by, saying that your friends will laugh at it if you do like this, right? If you don't motivate the children by putting the focus on peer influence, in any case the child is going to get peer influence when the child is older, right? So here, if you can kind of talk to the child in one to one, how peer can affect, how the child can help himself by pushing it back and retaining his personality. So these are good. In fact, Mala, anytime such things happen, right, if you can take it from the point of view that, uh, is there something positive we can take out of this situation? If anytime some problem happens, right, a conflict happens with the child, if you can tell yourself, challenge yourself, is there something positive we can take out of from this? So when you talk with your child, your connect with the child increased, right? When you allow the child that, dear, this much amount is lost, so it will be adjusted in your next purchase of your birthday purchase, or it will be adjusted from your pocket money, whatever it is, right? These are natural consequences. So it helped the child to handle, right, handle, pay the penalty for a not so wise decision. So either ways, you are helping the child to learn something from the situation, but keep your emotions out of it, because children learn from it, and this can be a connect moment. Just think, when the stakes are lesser, isn't it good that the child did it now, where he's safe with the parents? So it gave you an opportunity to guide the child. Suppose it happens when the child is much older, when the stakes are higher, wouldn't it be more dangerous? So sometimes you can see it from that point of view as well, that it's a good opportunity to connect with the child, but never ignore. Even if you have to just say a few lines to the child, keeping the hand on the child's shoulder, do make the child aware about it. Yeah, I hope it helps, Mala. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kiran. On the same line, Cynthia, who has a 5-year-old daughter, says how to handle your child when they want something other kids have. I mean, even when they have better, but want to have the same thing that the other one has. What should I do in that case?
All right. Yeah. So it happens in many ways, Cynthia. I can completely, understand. It can also happen when you take your child to mall, and those marketing people put all the merchandises attracting the children right at their hand, right near the payment counters. Or it can happen where the child went out and the child has the best dollhouse, with her, but when the child goes out and sees another friend, she says, no, this is not good, I want that, right? So first thing is about thinking, right? Is it wrong to wish? Yeah. See, wishes, we see it from a lot of different ways. We see it from, suppose a child would have wished that, wow, my friend got 95%, 99% in mathematics, I also want to do it. We see it as a positive thing. And when the child says, my friend has really good, cool watch, I also want it. So we start seeing it that okay, my child is getting materialistic and it's a wrong demand and all. Children, demand is demand. One thing, Cynthia, especially in today's time, I would suggest is please do keep a watch on what is the child watching on YouTube channel, right? I know it's not directly related to the topic, but it's very important, which I'm noticing now, because a lot of YouTube kids, which are marked as kids, where kids are shown, I'm aware where a lot of merchandising is being used. There are gifts with a lot of excitement. They open it, and all sorts of, sometimes dolls are coming, sometimes the burgers are coming. Everything. Which and then they see bright faces, and they start associating things with happiness, and it has visibly it increases the materialistic instinct in the children. They are young, right? They do not differentiate between what is advertisement and what is what is just entertainment. They see everything as real. So please be very careful about if the child is getting from YouTube channel, because I do see a direct thing. There is another thing where some families are shown where some younger children have some YouTube channel, and they show that how they are being very naughty in their definition by troubling the mother in some other way. All these things, like really innocent videos, but they have really, really, they can have a lot of impact on the child, because they become another source of information and learning for the child, because young children is it's their time to absorb things, good, bad, ugly, right? So please be careful about it. That's one. Then, secondly, if the child went to another friend's place, liked something, came back, I also need it. So, first thing is about just saying no, right? The other thing could be about, okay, you really need it, then seeing that, okay, how do you plan for it? Suppose there is some budgeting happening, suppose some birthday is coming. I always say that start associating gifts with some kind of events. So the child has that, okay, this is what it is. You can also, there is never an earlier age for financial planning, introducing financial planning to the child. We often think that these are things the child has to do when the child is bigger. So you can actually have that, what, okay, let's find out how this thing is. Next time when we go out, always introduce some waiting threshold, right? And when you are having waiting threshold, your child is going to get frustrated. So these things where you are expecting the child to wait also help the child to build frustration, that no, mama, I want it right now. So when the child is in that rage, your reasoning is not going to reach to the child, right? So that time, the only focus stays on supporting the child through the rage. I can understand you really want it right now. I can see how you really want it right now. You know what, dear, we'll plan about it. And you just support the child through the frustration. Child goes up, and then the child is calm, and you are the worst. It is a possibility, because your child is like 5, right? May say, you are so bad, mama, you are this, you are that. Please don't take it personally. As long as the child is not kind of physically hitting or something, take the words with a big pinch of salt, right? That time, your aim only has to be keep yourself safe and your child safe, and stay connected at the time. Let the child handle the frustration, see herself come out of it, and stay connected with you, right? And then you can plan it out, that all right, you know what, when is the next event which is coming? All right, this amount is for X amount, our budget is this. Be transparent to the child, right? So what we're going to do is, now this goes over our budget, so you have two options. Either we'll club these two and we'll buy it in that single thing, or we do it in two things. Whatever it is, you can plan it out and give a time frame, and truly believe, truly trust that your child can participate in it, right? Your trust that yes, my child can have that waiting threshold will help your child to trust in turn herself that I can, right? Instead of going into the long knowledge of, you have already so many, and why do you need it, and this thing. If the child is saying I need it, but in case if it doesn't gel with your definition of gift, you have the right, feel free to say no, that I think it, battery operated, whatever gels with your sensibility as a parent, that I'm sorry, but I don't subscribe to this kind of gift. It has microfiber. I don't want to participate in it, where it goes to the sea. Let's think if we can think of something else. So you can actually go with those simple words, even if you have to say no for a particular reason. Try to give the reason to your child in less than 25 words, right? Don't focus too much on the why part, right? But do feel free to say no also. As I said, how to say a no and being comfortable in saying a no flows intergenerational. You want your child to feel comfortable with saying no as well tomorrow, right? So that starts from you. Don't feel uncomfortable in saying a no to your child. Keep it calm, keep it smiling. So I really hope, Cynthia, it helps you and your child.
Right. Thank you so much for emphasizing how important it is to be assertive and knowing to when to say a no. On the same lines, I encourage you all to watch the entire video on parenting to understand how to handle lying and stealing in your child. Also, Kiran, could you give us top three do's and don'ts when you catch your child lying and stealing?
All right. Okay, so first thing is the moment you come to know, oh, this is not what my child should have said. Always check with yourself that okay, it is not that my child telling a lie is such a big thing. It is that I was expecting, I had a certain image of my child which is getting crashed here. So it's your pain, right? Your child never said that I will never tell a lie to you. You are the one who created that expectation. So if you can kind of handle it, if you find yourself getting flooded, you can always tell your child that, you know what, I didn't appreciate what you did, I'll come back to you. And then handle your, that's the top do's, handle yourself first before, truly believe that even if you come to your child the next day in the evening, it is always better to first have a hold on yourself, right? Your tone will be better, your child's defenses will not get triggered, the focus would stay on the topic then and what to do now next, right? So first do is hold on to yourself. Second do is uh, you know uh, uh, let the child get away with the why part of it. The child doesn't have to prove to you how important that why was. Okay, so of course, if you wish to ask the why, what happened, how come. So if you want to ask, but let the child get away with why. Let the child not be under the pressure that the why has to be what you think is a valid why, right? Please do not judge the whys of the child. For the child, that why is important enough. Otherwise, what will happen is the child will feel that my why is not strong enough, so I need to build some other why. Okay, the child will see it from the cues that the child gets from you. Third thing is, even if the child told a lie a few days back, please do not label. Again, it will go in both do's and don'ts. So resist from labeling the child that you have become a liar now. Do not label the child. Labeling never helps the child. Do not connect dots between two different incidents. Take every incident the way it is. If you see a pattern, so maybe when the heat of the moment has gone away based on the age of the child, you can see how to handle it. But when it's a heat of the moment, do not club two things together, right? So that's about the do's. Don'ts, please do not ever physically hurt your child no matter what. Okay, it's never going to help. It's your own vent. You got to first handle your shock, right? Do not ever hit your child. Do not ever touch upon the safety of the child. That is, whatever are the fears of the child. If the child is fearful of the dark, then putting the child in the bathroom. If letting the child not come in the house, no matter what, the child should feel safe that I can always come back home no matter what I have done. You really want your child to have that confidence that no matter what I have done, I can always run to my mom. Okay, so even if you heard that okay, my child bit someone, when you see your child, the first thing, hug your child, because it was difficult for your child. Your child resorted to bite, that means it was really difficult for him or her. So first support your child physically by hugging it, right? Then come to whys and what that can wait, right? Third thing is, do not take it upon yourself, right? Do not take it, I'm a bad mother or I'm a bad father because my child is working like that. It's the social pressure where you say, what will people think now that my child has done this? That is something which you have to handle. You can't put the pressure on the child, right? Because your child has to first handle his or her own emotions first. So I really hope, in a gist, I might have missed a few points, but yeah, three is three, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Kiran, and everyone else for joining in today.